Good morning, everyone. This week we're discussing sustainability, living in a sustainable world. But what is sustainability? Sustainability is defined by making responsible decisions to care for the planet. But why is that important? And what does the Bible say about it? God commissioned people to steward the earth's resources. A consequence we see in Genesis of being created in God's image is that we are to have dominion over the earth. So it's said in Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. As we exercise dominion over the created world, we do so knowing that we mirror God. God's use of the words subdue and dominion in Genesis do not give us permission to run roughshod over any part of his creation. Quite the opposite. We are to act as if we ourselves had the same relationship of love with creation that God does. Subduing the earth includes harnessing its various resources as well as protecting them. Dominion over all living creatures is not a license to abuse them, but a contract from God to care for them. Today we have become especially aware of how pursuit of human self-interest threatens the natural environment. We're meant to tend and care for the garden. Creation is meant for our use, but not only for our use. Remembering that the air, the water, the land, the plants, and the animals are good, reminds us that we are meant to sustain and preserve the environment. Our work can either preserve or destroy the clean air, water, and land, the biodiversity, the ecosystems and the biomes, and even the climate in which God blessed his creation. Dominion is not the authority to work against God's creation, but the ability to work for it. All good work respects God's limits, but there are limits to the earth's capacity for resource extraction, pollution, habitat modification, and the use of plants and animals for food, clothing and other purposes. In practices, it may be hard to know exactly where the line is. Nonetheless, the art of living as God's image bearers requires learning to discern where blessings are found in observing the limits set by God and evident in creation. If we look at the book of Job, it says, "But ask the beasts and they will teach you, the birds of the heavens and they will tell you, or the bushes of the earth and they will teach you, and the fish of the sea will declare you. Who among all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand the life of everything living and the breath of all mankind." And the book of Numbers says, "You shall not pollute the land in which you live." So sustainability is important. We live finite lives, and it's vital that we do what we can to preserve the world for the next generation. Living a sustainable life cycle can be tough at times, but this, we will talk through and tell you why it's all worth it. Even small actions such as recycling, taking shorter showers, avoiding plastic products can make a big difference. We know all of that. But what else can we do? Right, for our sustainable world then, what kind of things can we do? I've created a mind map here of some of the things that we could do and some of the actions that we could possibly take. So we start in the middle with our little sustainable world. And then there are some things around the outside of things that we can do. One thing around positive character development. How can we learn to be better at this? One of the things about repairing, recycling, reusing. So how about we look at an upcycling project, and we can maybe have a look at that in a moment. One of the other good things about sustainability is the impact on future generations. Conserving water and energy. Actions we can take from there, what we mentioned earlier, the shorter showers. Turning lights and devices off, that's a biggie. How many things do we leave on standby? And that can conserve so much energy. One of the things during lockdown, the quality of life has certainly improved. A lot more people are spending more time in nature. As an action, we've become healthier, and there's a lot less pollution because we're walking, we're taking less car journeys, and we're cycling places. And maybe that's something that we can all continue to do after lockdown. Become positive peer groups, develop good habits. Maybe when you go back into school, taking organic lunches, encouraging others, generally eating healthier. Maybe introduce meat-free Mondays if you haven't done that already. Other good habits, recycling, which we mentioned earlier on. If you notice through here, there's a lot of dotted lines where things are linked. And the good habits links from here into here, such as the recycling, being eco-friendly and using less packaging, and our recycling links up to here too, to our positive character development. So pick up your rubbish, become a recycling champion. Maybe you take responsibility in your home for being your recycling champion and making sure that everything's recycled. Being a conscious consumer, what does that mean? It just means, you know, positive when you're shopping, looking at things like fair trade, organic items, things with less packaging, and maybe making an action to shop local, to buy fresh, using reusable bags and getting using a lot less plastic and buying things in a lot less plastic. I think it's about saving money, you know, not only from walking less and walking more rather, and having less car journeys, and cycling also saves money, but growing your own produce, maybe making a kitchen garden, and using less. Open your curtains, turn off your devices, as we mentioned earlier on over here. Cycling, maybe make your own herb garden. And again, this upcycling and herb garden is what we're going to look at next. But you create your own mind map. What things could you do? What actions would you put down? Create yourself an action plan from your mind map and see what positive impact you can make on our sustainable world. Okay, so one of the things I mentioned earlier was around upcycling, and people think of upcycling products can be massive, you know, taking a very old chest of drawers and sanding it down and repainting it and turning it into something more with more purpose. But upcycling projects can be quite small too, and we've been doing a few of them during lockdown. So one of the very simple ones I'll share with you. Clean up an old bottle you would normally send out for recycling, and we've been putting some little bottle lights in those and turning them into some beautiful little lamps that we can put around the fireplace or take outside of an evening when we're sitting outside. So that's one thing. My husband's taken to cutting various bits of glass and has made some things. Wouldn't recommend doing this without supervision of an adult, but he's taken to cutting bottles in half and turn them into little lights for outside, and then putting little hanging wires on them, and we sit outside with those of an evening, which is also really nice. And taking old bottles as well. You don't have to use bottles, you could use plastic for these as well, which is a much safer way, but then using them as little utensil holders. Okay, so our project that we're going to go through in terms of growing a herb garden and doing some little upcycling of our own, we get, what you'll need for this is 3 pots, or as many different seeds as you want to plant. I've got 3 different ones, so I've chosen to take a plastic container which I've washed out, and we're going to use that. An old tin which I've cleaned up as well, taken the label off and washed that out. And again, I am using one of my husband's cut glass, just taking a bottle off of that, but you don't have to use glass. You can use another tin or plastic or other container. So you're going to need those. You're going to need some paintbrushes and some paints of your choice, your colour, whichever colours you want and whatever colours you've got available. Some seeds. I've got some pizza herb seeds. I've got some basil, some oregano and some thyme. You're going to need some soil to put in each of your containers, and maybe a few little rocks as well, just to put at the bottom to help the seeds take and grow. You're also going to need some water, not only for the paints, but also for watering your herbs afterwards. Okay, so let's paint our tins and cans that we're going to use for our planters. I'm using acrylic paints. I'm even reusing an old lid as my palette. So I'm using the primary colours of blue, red and yellow for mine. You can use whichever ones you want for yours. I'm using acrylic paints because I find that's best when you're trying to paint on surfaces such as these. So I'm starting with my tin can, and I'm going to paint that blue. Okay, it's quite interesting, the different recycling materials, the different brush strokes and the effect that you get by painting these up, and I quite like that. I think it gives it a really, really nice effect, and you can choose to let them dry paint over them as many times as you want to get the desired effect that that you like. As you see, the paint goes on quite easily. You don't actually need a great deal of it. It does spread quite easily over these kind of surfaces. You see, it's quite quick to do. I'm nearly all the way around my can. Okay, you see it's got quite a cool brush stroke effect, almost like a shabby chic kind of effect going. So so take each of your things, paint them your colours and let them dry. I've already done the plastic one in red and the glass one in yellow. You drop that then. As you see, they're quite nice effects on those. They're still wet, so what we're going to do is leave them to dry, and then we can come back and start planting our seeds in them. Okay, so now our pots have dried with their various colours. I'm going to take my soil and I'm going to put some in each of the containers. Just helps if you use a bit of a plastic spoon to do that. Decent amount of soil in each container. From outside, little bees come to us for company now. And once you've added your soil, I'm going to put a few of these little rocks in there just to help with the watering and the irrigation, and to help with planting. Sticking them all over the place, and we're going to add just a little bit of water just to start them off with the soil at the bottom. And then we're going to take each of our seeds. So we've got some basil, so I'm going to put that in the red one. Take these seeds and put them in there. Make sure you get all the seeds out. In there, and then we can add some more of the soil on top. If you repeat that for all three of your little planting pots, and then give them a bit more water, and then with our lolly sticks that we've got here, and I've got some little labels that I'll put on there. So that's basil. I'll put the planting date of today, and then either with a bit of glue or a little sticky pad, and stick that to here. Take a little bit of sticky off, put it onto our little lolly label, and then we can place that in there, and that's our first little herb garden. And then we repeat the same process for all of the other three. Okay, so there you go, I've finished planting. I've put the tags on, and the little labels, and there is our little upcycling project complete, and our very own little herb garden. Keep our eye on those over the next few weeks, see how they get on, and let us know how you get on too. So we'd love to hear from you. Show us your upcycling projects and recycling projects. Show us your little herb gardens and whatever else you're doing that makes us a more sustainable world. Thanks very much. Take care. See you soon. Bye.